Yes. 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 This Science in the Bath is gonna be incredible. It's advised to celebrate all things before you've tried them, especially before you've achieved anything. For one, it gets the celebrating out of the way, and secondly, raising your arms in the air has been shown to raise testosterone and lower cortisol, and testosterone is linked to confidence and cortisol is linked to stress. Try it. Celebrate just watching this talk. Feels good, right? And yet, reliable analysis by the big names at UPenn and the big dogs at the University of Zurich shows that this so-called power posing effect isn't real. It's no better than just taking a placebo. Now, don't get me wrong, placebos are great. Presuming that you still have your arms in the air, you might be feeling something positive, and that's real. It's just that there's no strong physical link between this muscular position and the state of your mind. It's all in your mind, partly because you want it to be. The best thing about the placebo effect is that it works even if you know it's a placebo. So I know that I shouldn't really be feeling any positive benefit from raising my arms in the air, and yet somehow I do. Now imagine that the world spent billions of monies and thousands of women and man hours working on a cure for low confidence. And this, yes, was all that they could come up with. It'd be pretty disappointing, right? Well, this is not too different to our progress with treating depression. Remember that most studies concluding that drugs are ineffective don't get published because they don't necessarily work in the interest of big pharmaceutical companies, which is another story. But if you take into account unpublished studies, there is a growing body of evidence that antidepressant medications are often no better than placebos. That's not to say that antidepressants don't work for some people, and it's also not to say that those unpublished studies are definitely correct. It's just that there is doubt, and there are certainly no perfect solutions to depression. Don't get me wrong, there are loads of super smart people working on mental health. It's just really complicated, and that's why our understanding is still so far behind. And it's a massive problem. Depression ruins lives. It is the leading cause of disability worldwide, and at the very least, 1 in 5 of us will be depressed at some point in our lives. We need to do something about this. We have to put our heads together. The reason I'm making this video is to try to explain a vitally important aspect of depression that is often misunderstood, as simply and as clearly as I can. Because I know that people are creative and brilliant, and that once people have relatable, understandable ideas, people come up with new ideas, and before you know it, someone's solving the problem of depression. In some ways, the mind is a little bit similar to one of these punch bags. You strike it with something crap, like a parking ticket, a bowl haircut, or a punch to the groin, and it generally, albeit sometimes begrudgingly, bounces back upright. This looks a bit bizarre. Without knowing that there's water or golden syrup in the bottom of the punch bag, it seems a little bit illogical that it should go back to upright. But like the punch bag, the mind is bizarre. We are naturally, unreasonably, and illogically optimistic about the world. It's totally normal for us to see the world as being far, far better than it is. Evolutionarily, this makes a lot of sense. We wouldn't get half as much done if we had any idea how likely we were to fail all the time. In contrast, a punch bag lying on the floor somehow looks to be a lot more reasonable. And if you treat it in a certain way, it'll stay there. Like this now more sensibly positioned punch bag, when we get depressed, we see the world in a much more realistic and logical way. A fellow human suffering from depression is much more likely to be right about how depressing the world is than someone who isn't depressed. Take a look at your immediate surroundings. There are bound to be countless things wrong and untidy that you haven't noticed yet. Because a healthy human doesn't necessarily see the negative details, even though they're all around us. It's normal for us to have an unreasonable filter of optimism on everything. It's part of the human condition to select the positive things around us and ignore the basic realities. What we have to take away from this is that we can't really help long-term with someone's depression through reasonable and logical conversations about the world. Nor can we help by saying that things aren't that bad. Because the truth is that they often are that bad. What I'm saying is that we've been pretending for far too long that positivity is the cure for depression. It's definitely not the cure. The cure lies somewhere in somehow returning people's minds to this inherently illogical and unreasonable state. Complicated, right? It's unclear how brains get into this arguably reasonable state of feeling very low in the first place. Sometimes it can grow from bad experiences, sometimes it can develop out of an unhealthy lifestyle, and sometimes it can just happen for seemingly no reason at all. The worst recurrent depression is often perpetuated by people's innermost ideas about themselves. For example, say you apply for a job and you don't get it. It's probably just because there were better candidates, right? Or is it because you're worthless, stupid, and impossible to like? No, obviously not. When we get depressed, we might tend to view the world around us with a lot more logic and reason. But we often tend to lose a lot of reasonability in how we view ourselves. This is all to say that while you can't solve depression with reasonable, positive conversations about the world around us, you can definitely help someone by showing them how valuable they are. As I said before, there are still no very good solutions for depression. It's enormously complicated and it still remains very difficult to fully understand. But I'm just going to leave you with some thoughts that might help people and might spark off new ideas in people. Firstly, there's the classic list that everyone's heard before. It helps to regularly exercise, to release endorphins to alleviate the symptoms. It helps to have a regular sleep cycle. It helps to completely avoid depressant drugs like alcohol, and it helps to surround yourself with positive people. None of these are cures, though they still might help. Similar to the effect of exercise, exposure to cold water in a cold shower or a bath, like this one, ice cold, or the Arctic Circle. I once met a guy who swam across the icy seas of Iceland every day on his way to work. These things can alleviate the symptoms of depression by releasing endorphins. Finding a good therapist is absolutely key. Antidepressant medications work by targeting your amygdala deep inside your brain. And what they do is they convince you to have a more positive emotional response to things that you perceive in the world around you. It's called an emotional bias. But this isn't actually directly linked to your mood. The idea is that if you have a more positive response to things, then gradually your mood will improve. The problem is that when you take the antidepressants away, your brain often easily falls back into making negative interpretations of everything. The best way we know to train your mind to control your amygdala is through good therapy. If you want to try something on your own, it helps a lot of people to keep a journal of 2 positive things that happen to them each day. This is a form of cognitive behavioural therapy, and the idea is that as those experiences are happening, you start to actually appreciate them more because you're looking for them so that you can write them down at the end of the day. The final thing I want to talk about, because sweet jeebus, this bath is cold, is that we can learn a lot from the Harvard study of happiness, even though happiness is not necessarily the opposite of depression. For the last 77 years, great minds have been studying every single relevant variable that they can think of across loads of different people's lives to try to discern what the ingredients are of happiness. And the conclusion that they've come to is that, provided your basic needs are met, only one thing truly matters, and that is relationships. Good relationships with the people around you, with the animals around you, with the environment around you. Nothing else matters. Spread the knowledge and deliciously subscribe for more. And follow me on Instagram and Snapchat @Matthew Shribman for my shorts in the shower and more sciencey things.